I grew up without a father figure, and my experience with women was basically non-existent. That lack of guidance shaped a lot of my decisions later in life. When I turned 18, I started visiting a local church near my house. At first, it was just curiosity, but very quickly my faith grew stronger. I converted to Christianity and dedicated my life to God. Over the years, I became deeply involved in the church. By the time I was 25, the pastor appointed me as the youth leader. 2 years later, at 27, I became his assistant pastor. I spent a lot of time behind the altar preaching and speaking to the congregation. People constantly praised my speaking ability and told me I had the potential to become a major preacher someday. For someone who grew up ignored and unpopular, that kind of attention was overwhelming. In high school, I had been the quiet nerd that nobody noticed. I had never even had a girlfriend. Suddenly, I was surrounded by people who respected me, listened to me, and wanted my advice. Families invited me to gatherings. Members of the congregation constantly asked me for guidance, and I was treated like someone important. Along with that attention came something I had never experienced before: attention from women. Women from the church started messaging me on Facebook. Some flirted, some asked me out, and others simply wanted to spend time with me. At first, I didn't even realize what was happening. I was naive and didn't know how to respond. But eventually things started to change. Something most people don't realize is that churches often hide many problems behind closed doors. Because I was part of the pastor's leadership team, I saw things most people never see. Affairs, secret relationships, and scandals happen more often than anyone would expect. Church leaders tried to keep everything quiet to protect the congregation's reputation. Unfortunately, I eventually became part of that hidden world. The first woman I got involved with was a single mother who had recently joined the church. I'll call her Amanda. She had gone through a divorce and began approaching me after services asking for advice about her personal struggles. At first, I thought I was just helping someone who needed guidance, so I scheduled counseling sessions with her at the church office. Eventually, those meetings moved outside the church. Sometimes we talked at my house. I lived with my mother at the time, and Amanda even became friendly with her. She started helping around the house and acting like part of the family. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. One day my mother wasn't home, and Amanda came over to help clean. After a while, she came into my room and started flirting with me. That moment crossed a line I never should have crossed. After that first encounter, curiosity and temptation took over. Instead of stopping, I started responding to messages from other women in the church who had previously tried to contact me. The next relationship was with a married woman. I'll call her Mary. Her husband was a truck driver who traveled often and was rarely home. Mary and I started chatting on Facebook every night. Our conversations became personal very quickly. Eventually, we met in person late one night and began a secret relationship. We would meet privately whenever we could, always hiding it from everyone else in the congregation. At that point, I was living a double life. I continued seeing Amanda while secretly meeting Mary as well. Neither of them knew about the other. I convinced both of them to keep everything quiet by telling them it would cause controversy in the church if anyone found out. For a while, it felt like I was getting away with everything, but things eventually started falling apart. Mary ended up leaving her husband and told me she wanted a real relationship with me. I told her I wasn't ready for something serious. She was hurt and decided to leave my life completely. Shortly after, she met someone else and remarried. I never saw her again. Then Amanda made a decision that changed everything. She had previously used a medical device that prevented pregnancy, which is why I never worried about protection. Without telling me, she had the device removed. Her plan was simple: get pregnant, so I would be forced to marry her. And that's exactly what happened. When she told the pastor she was pregnant with my child, everything exploded. The pastor called an emergency meeting with the church leadership and told me the situation would become a massive scandal if it became public. He strongly advised me to marry Amanda. Because he was the closest thing I had to a father figure, I followed his advice. I married her even though I didn't love her. That decision became the worst mistake of my life. Our marriage lasted 3 years, and it was miserable. We were completely incompatible. Arguments were constant, and neither of us was happy. Eventually, I made another terrible decision and started seeing someone else behind Amanda's back. When she discovered the affair, she told the entire congregation and posted about it on social media. Overnight, the people who once respected me turned against me. My reputation in the church was destroyed. Eventually, I left the church, filed for divorce, and fought for custody of my son. Surprisingly, I was granted shared custody. Amanda had believed she would receive long-term financial support from the divorce, but the court ruled against that as well. Today, my son stays with me half the time, and my mother helps me raise him. I've stayed single for the past few years and focused on rebuilding my life. I found a new job, went back to school, and started building a completely new circle of friends who know nothing about my past. Sometimes the pastor still calls me and tells me I'm forgiven and that I should return to church, but I never have. Looking back, I know I destroyed an opportunity that very few people ever get. I had respect, influence, and a future in ministry, and I threw it all away because I couldn't control my choices. The biggest lesson I learned from everything is simple. If someone begins to fall in love with you and you don't intend to build a future with them, it's better to walk away early. Because once emotions get involved, things can spiral into consequences you never expected. And sometimes those consequences change your entire life.